Welcome to Quoterite's 5th generation retail platform, an AI-first system built on the latest cloud technology. One of the first things you'll notice with that platform is the simplicity. And this system is designed to work on any device, from Google to Android, it doesn't matter, Mac, iOS. So it'll work on any device and any phone too, any tablet, any size. The first thing you'll see when you log in is the dashboard. And this just gives us a very basic overview of the different flows that we've got. One of the biggest principles of this system is that we realize that you can't have one system to fit all. One system that has thousands and thousands of functions and features is too much for a smaller company to handle. When you get to a larger organization, they need more flexibility. They need other tools to come in to help with marketing, to help with other automations within the company. And it's those sorts of restrictions that we saw, and that's where this system came to be. Quoterite's system is designed to be built to your processes and your ways of doing business, including its operations and automations for growth. So the first things you'll notice is we have these two pipelines down the side. So these are sales pipeline and an installation pipeline. Big thing is you can have as many or as little pipelines as you want in the system. So for example, under our settings here, I've created a sales pipeline. I've called it that, I've given it the prefix S, I've told it what are the different stages that I want to have. I've told it the different flags that I want it to have and the different options within those flags. And I've also told it what modules that I want and the order in which I want those modules to display. I can remove modules, I can add modules. Now this sort of flexibility means that your company's current operations can be matched to Quoterite systems to ensure that you're not having to mold or change your business around our platform changes to your business, which is critical when it comes to getting live and getting on board, and I guess that adoption for clients using it. So these are all fully custom. We can have as many workflows as we want. We can call them what we want. We have a lot of clients have, for example, sales workflow or retail sales. They may have a commercial workflow where they put the deal prefix as C. They may have a rework workflow and an installation workflow. So they can all be very, very different. When we have a look at our sales workflow here, the first thing you'll note is it's a really, really simple Kanban board. Very, very easy to use. It's very simple to drag and drop, move deals around, and see what's going on. So it's very visual to see what's happening. Obviously, we can choose what flags we want to show here. You'll also notice that flags from one column may change as they get to a different column. They can be different. So depending on the view that you're asking for in the system, they can all be very unique. You'll also see a really nice little financial summary at the bottom showing how much is paid, payments requested, and where is that up to. So you know if you've got jobs waiting to be installed, for example, we can see we've requested the payment, but it's not done. In terms of views, obviously we have a nice Kanban view. We can then change that to a list view, which is all sorted. So again, it makes it really easy. If you're looking for specific jobs with specific flags, it's very easy to search for those. We can also create custom views. So I've just got my view here. And custom views are something that, for example, we might say, look, I want to look for any owners of these jobs and any status that is follow-up or this or this. And I can just choose what I want to see, come up here and then manage presets, add preset, and we'll call this new view. And save. And this is how your team can set up the various views they need for the different jobs that they're performing to make sure that they're seeing what they need to see. So we can click here and see I have one to action or I have none to action, and here. And this is also how we work with permissions. So another thing you'll notice in here is that we don't have a permissions module for you to set permissions. The reason we don't do this is, again, we saw that permissions can be very custom down to you might have 5 salespeople, and if we tag them all as salespeople, maybe one of them has a slightly different discount level or a slightly different permission. So everything we do from a permissions level is completely scripted and customized for you on our paid platform. To show you what the deals are, let's go in here and look at adding a deal. So obviously we can add the name, we could add a description. So holiday house, a side mark could be option 1. The contacts, so we can have a choice from our contacts module, or we can add a contact if we'd like. These fields can also be customized as well. So we'll just choose a contact from our platform here. We'll choose a site address, 20 Fake Street. So again, we can choose or just use whatever we want, if it's a PO box, and etc. So we want to go down and fill out all of this information. Again, we can choose if some's mandatory or not, and we can add as much information there as we desire. Once the deal's created, you'll see that all of that extra information's here. Now, we can add as much as we want there, and that's all going to happen through our settings. So we've got our workflows here, and we've got our custom fields. So we call these UDF fields, or user-defined fields. These fields can be very basic fields, from text, obviously choosing people, or down to single person or multi-line text. But we can also use these fields to help us in triggering and defining automations within the system, which I'll cover later on the demo. On the deal, we can add appointments, quotes, payments, attachments, notes, related deals I'll come back to, and a financial summary. So let's go ahead and make out we're booking an appointment. So we'll call this quote for furnishings. We can choose our obviously days and times. It could be an all day event. We've got our location loaded and our description. Our system does connect to Google Calendar and Outlook Calendar, but it will also sync with iMac, etc. So once you've attached your personnel to those, so when we look in our personnel tab here, these are all the personnel that we've got. Once they're all connected to their calendar, they will all show up in here for you to select. So you'll have a choice to add as many staff to the invite as you want, and also the customers that you've got there. So if you've selected, say, multiple contacts, for example, you might have the husband, the wife, it could be the next door neighbor in the UDF fields, we could automatically select those, save it, and that will automatically send invites. We have a few different options when it comes to calendar integration, and again, it very much depends on your organization. So option 1 is just a pure calendar invite. Option 2 is we can just send invites in terms of the calendar and automatically integrate it through the calendar. The other way is that we can synchronize calendars both ways. So what that means is if your reps have their own personal calendars, we actually soak in all of their personal appointments, but for privacy wise, the calendar will only read busy or free. So when we look at our calendar here, we're going to see a list of appointments. We can hover over and see those. We can select them, edit the appointments if we like. We can see those in list view again and edit those anytime we want. And also personnel view, which is really nice. So this is where you would see all your different staff or personnel here, and whether they're busy or they're free. And obviously you can just choose different days and times that you want. We have weekdays, month view, week view, day view. The other nice thing with the personnel is that personnel could also be things like scaffolding or trucks or any objects within the company that you want to book out. So with our system, you can have as many personnel as you want. You're not paying for personnel. Effectively, you're only charged for the logins to the system, which is separate. So you could have 3 users that log into our system that obviously are payable, and 4 installers that aren't logged in, that can't log in, which you do not pay for under personnel. But if the calendars are all integrated, or you just want to send them invites, you can still have all of that functionality within our platform. It also means, obviously, if you're adding various scaffolding, trucks, tools in here, you can see if they're booked out for different jobs, which is really handy for larger organizations. So if we save that appointment, the great thing is we can see, obviously with one view, we can see all of the appointments that's gone on. So when we're talking about organizations having clarity and really understanding what's going on in the company and who's doing what, one single view tells me everything. So I can see quotes, installs, everything booked here. Let's have a look at creating a quote. So to create a quote, we just simply go add. Now, first of all, when you get in the system, it'll be about setting it up. So what we're going to look at is products here. So once we enable all the brands for you that you use, you'll be able to set a default % markup here or margin if you want across all brands, or you can dig down and say, look, I would like this brand to be its own, or I would like aluminium blinds to be custom, and I would like to have a base percent, an options percent, different markups margin, or I'd like to make those products visible or hidden. Perhaps you don't sell all the products from specific suppliers. We do also have a lot of back-end options where we can code in different markups and margins for various options. So a lot of the time clients will ask us to have a different margin on motors, for example, and that's all possible. That's just something we help you with and take care of on the back end. All of those very specific ones we set up are going to be what we call a bundle, and that way you will see that we've set up very specific bundles targeting any options, any fabrics itself, and you will be able to turn those off or on within here. These could also be sales promotions or specials too. So if you wanted to run promotions that are time-based, perhaps they are an opt-in or an auto opt-in for your staff, then we can preset all of those promotions here for you to handle anytime you're after. But once your products are turned on and ready to go, then on our quote here, we'll give it a description and we'll call this option 1 blinds and create. So again, a nice really simple view here. Let's go add a product. So we'll see a list of all the suppliers come up. You'll also notice that we do get a list of top products here. So as you start using the system, it's automatically going to save all of the products that you as a user and other people are using up here so that they're very easy to get to. So for example, let's just click on this Hunter Douglas one here and we'll call this bed 1. Obviously our system works in inches and millimeters, yards, so we have many, many options when it comes to the types of measurements, inputs that we want to have there. And add. So that's added the product in for us. We can see the details of the product and the pricing here. So a really big focus for us has been making the pricing and the ability to track pricing and how it operates very, very simple. So we'll go through more of that as we dive deeper. So let's go show options for this product. So this is where all of the pre-built options for this supplier and this specific product are going to show. So as we choose a fabric, that's going to show me the options for it. And again, depending on the suppliers you use, they will be the only ones that are turned on. So you can have full control of what your staff can and can't see. So let's make some selections. We'll choose inside mount. Some of them may not be mandatory. For example, this red one here says it's mandatory. And again, these are only test brands, but in the full system, they are all validated. You'll also note that when we have products here, we run in what we call constant validation mode. So that means as I'm choosing different options here, it's opening up more options and potentially automatically selecting others, removing them or hiding them. If we change it to say this one here, it's going to add the price in. It's going to tell me if I have any coupled shades and any accessories that I want for it. So our system is very dynamic when it comes to pricing, which ensures that staff don't miss selections. They're not forgetting to put pricing on different options that come up. But really it's going through selecting those and saving. So once we've done the product once, what we can do is see the base price, the selected options price, how that works out. We can see everything we've selected here. We could edit both of these if we want, but we can also clone it. So let's say we wanted another one of those. We could clone that and call it bed 1, 2, for example, if they have a second window, and we'll clear those measurements and we'll call that 70 wide. So what the system's going to do is take that product, copy it out, check all of the options. Now, if any of the options are out of specification or not available because of the size change, it will warn me here and tell me what's going on. Let's say we're done with that. We've done our roller shades. Let's also look at drapery. Let's look here. There we go. So let's use a demo drapery brand here, and let's call this living room. Let's say it's 300 wide and 200 high. So drapery is something that we do extremely well. We have a very, very technical drapery tool. So I'll put another video out soon on exactly how that operates and how we configure it, because effectively our drapery tool is infinitely configurable, but it's to a point that your staff should be able to use it, being guaranteed they're not making mistakes, they're not underquoting, they're not missing out on fabric repeats, anything, and everything's being captured correctly. So all of the questions you see here, as a drapery tool, being a custom drapery, they're all specific to you. And so all of the verbiage, all of the options, all of the rules and things behind the scenes are all specific to you. So if we choose a heading style, let's have a look at an asphalt. Let's choose a center stack. We might want a drape position. Maybe we've got multiple layers. We may want to add overlap arms. We may have returns on that. We may not. Heading and hem allowances. So again, when we look at selecting heading styles, these can all be tied to every other selection. So we have a lot of clients where we would choose a heading style and then, a heading style, and it will automatically choose the heading and hem that's appropriate with it. We can also split the heading and split the hem allowances. So again, very customizable down to what you want. We also have the largest database of fabrics on the planet. So all of the materials will be available for you to turn on and activate and put your various markups and margins on. We can see the version price list, that is. Obviously, we upload all of the different widths, repeats, and pricing, which you can apply your margin and markup to, and then how we calculate that. We can then add linings to this, so we can select here to add a lining, how we want the lining calculated, perhaps the different brands of lining that we can use, obviously color, and then the lining, heading, and hem allowances. Options could be anything that you want to add to those products. We do have hook and hook type allowances, and again, the hook and hook type allowances and track allowances can all be tied to the various heading styles that you've got. So a lot of custom configuration can go in around, well, if I choose a ripple fold, then this is the hook that I want and this is the allowance. Or maybe we have a track selector at the top that says, if this is the track I choose, then this is the hook and this is the allowance, etc. But once that's done, we can come down and see that we've got our yardage, we can see our cuts, our lining quantity, and our lining cuts. We can also see that the system's calculated 64 carriers. And again, there's many ways we can calculate it, including uploading all of the stud or the snap charts there, or the carrier length tape spacings. We can see the system's got our making costs, our fabric costs, lining costs, making prices and retail, and then our calculations where we're looking at things like unrounded widths, how that's working, to chargeable width quantities, etc. And again, all of the data we see here can be hidden. So really we leave this open in test mode and hide it on final usage. And then we've got our carriers as well. So we'll go ahead and save that. So once that's saved, we can see some of the selections we've made, but what's nice is we can see the different costs that we've got here to make it easier. Again, if we want another drapery, we could clone that out, change this to say 100 wide, and create. The system will also warn us for things like if the fabric's not wide enough based on the heading and hem selections. It's going to look at everything to make sure nothing's wrong. So we can see that we've changed the measurements and that's automatically updated the calculations there. So if we close this here, we can see that we've got one quote here for one option of 4 products. We can see that this is what it's worth. Let's say the customer wanted another option in another fabric. So we could select that quote and we will clone that quote, and let's call it option 2 fabric. Create clone. So now we've got a brand new copy of it, and again, we can go in here, we can change measurements, change fabrics, whatever we want. But effectively, a deal can have as many quotes as you want and also as many accepted orders. So for example, if you had a customer that wanted multiple properties done in one go, you could have one deal for them, you could have different addresses for it, and then you had property 1, property 2, property 3, and actually accept them all and track them all as one linked job together. Let's have a look at the quote for this one. So if we wanted to view the PDF, this is one option. Now our systems comes with a custom PDF generator, which is something that we build for you. So effectively any look or style that you would like, we can offer in the system. So this is just one type that we've got. And for example, here's another one. So this is just another demo one we set up with a nice cover page, but you can see a totally different layout and view. So that includes where and how do you want the pricing to show, how you want all of this information to show, etc. We can throw on the warranties, warranty certificates, anything that you like really, which is great. And this means that every company we work with can have a totally unique quote style and view, so that it's not just coming from 2 or 3 different templates. On top of that, we can do things like the measure PDF and install PDF. Again, those are both completely custom, so if you have templates, then we can certainly use those. Like we can remove the pricing from installation. We could email the quote, so we could click email and send that through as a PDF. The other thing that's going to be coming through once we're connected, or once you're connected to our system, is a lot of AI functionality. And for example, email is one of those. So what our system does is, effectively, you can upload voice notes. So you can add a voice note here and just transcribe it. You can also record your appointments with customers, be it on-site or in the showroom, and upload all of that here, and the AI is going to summarize it. Then when we're looking to send an email to the customer, the AI is going to read all of those notes. It's also going to read all of the different products and selections that you've got, and it will then configure an email customized for that customer using their name. It might reference things like, thank you for the coffee we had on site. It was lovely to meet your husband. I remember that fabric we spoke for will look amazing. That Aden Breezy Beach will look incredible there. So a very custom configured email to your clients there. So there's a few options that you can use, but again, it saves a hell of a lot of time when working in a system. So if we wanted to do any deposit, so again, the system's automatically generated a deposit amount based on the settings we've applied, but we can override that. Obviously tax can be preset in the back end, or we can override. We can also look at adjustments, which is what we use for discounts. Those can be taxable, non-taxable, things like percentages, fixed amounts, or final charges. So it gives you the ability to say discount the products, but not the installation, or anything that you really want, but very, very easy to see and use. And again, it's really, really clear here on what's happening. So let's say the customer, we've sent them the quote and they do want to go ahead with this option, or we're on site and we've quoted. We're simply going to click accept quote. The customer can sign here, or maybe we don't want a signature and we accept it. So on acceptance of that quote, you'll notice up here, it's broken down that quote to the different things that we've got. So with Quoterite, you're able to quote any mix of products, brands. It's completely unlimited what's on a quote. It doesn't matter. And it will very quickly break those down and show them up the top here so that we can see what's ordered. And that includes the different fabrics that you use. This one's set to in-house fabrics, but if they're external ones that you're purchasing in, then you would see all the different material orders too. So let's close this. So now we can see that we've got one accepted quote and one open quote. And if the customer decided not to go ahead with this quote, we could simply click on it, come up here and reject that quote. And then we could archive it if we wanted to get rid of that. We've then got payments. So if we look to add a payment, we do integrate with Stripe globally, which we call Quoterite Pay. The system auto-generates the deposit, which is based on the standard settings. But again, we could type in any amount we want. This could be initial deposit and add. Then what will happen is we can either email this link to the customer, we can click on it while we're on site, and it will simply open up a nice page. Obviously the different payment methods, there are quite a few that we do, and you can control those through your account, but you simply add the card and details in and here, and that will process the payment for you. Alternatively, you can do a manual payment. So if we look in here and go manual, this could be for check or cash or anything else that you wanted to do. We can also see that the financial summaries come up here. So it's saying here that we have a requested amount, but it is not paid. If we added a manual payment in here, and we'll say 6,000, description, deposit, the status is paid, the date of that is today. and we don't need a reference, so let's add that in. So we can now see that we do have a payment here of 6,000 and we do have a request for 4 outstanding. Let's say we wanted to cancel that request because the customer decided to give us a check. We can just simply come in here and cancel payment, and that's going to remove that link. So that link's no longer active, and you can see it's fixed up our financial summary here. Again, if we wanted to get rid of this quote, we could come up and just archive that or reopen it if they change their mind, which makes it really easy. So from here, we can see financial information. We can also open up and see a little bit more detail on it, and there's a lot of nice little tooltips in here. Attachments are pretty easy. They're just drag and drop for anything to upload. But at this stage, we are here. Again, we may be moving this to different steps. Now, if we come back a bit and look at the different processes that you could go for your business, and I guess the value that Quoterite provides immediately are what we call our automations and integrations. So let's say that we've got a lead, it's been booked, we've done the quote, and we drag this to follow up. A lot of companies that we speak to, one of the biggest challenges is following up quotes, making sure that it's done. And certainly the customers that have these sorts of automations active for their account see quite a large increase in conversion rates, but also customer satisfaction and experience when it comes to reviews about the company's processes. So the simple act of me moving this could trigger automations. And what I mean by automations is these. So we do automations based on moving jobs. We do automations based on flags. So it could be moving a job to a column. It could be adding a flag here. So let's say you've completed a job and you went review requested. That could trigger an automated email. If it was ordered and order placed, that could trigger an email to the customer, and it could also trigger internal alerts too. So this really gives you the ability to have a look at the company, have a look at where the wasted time is from a lot of the team, be it following up quotes for hours. You know, if you could save each staff member 4 hours a week and they could sell an extra job, that's worth far more than the cost of Quoterite. If you could take care of all the communication, telling customers that that their job's ready for installation, simply by having a flag here that might say ready for install, that triggers an email, how much time would that save? So we really look at it that Quoterite saves more money than it costs instantly, if not tripling it within the first month through automations. On top of that sort of contact automation, we've also got automations for accounting to fully automate the accounting process. So for example, you may say when it's in a certain column, it triggers, or when a quote is accepted, it triggers an invoice in. Again, that's all custom to you. All the payments, all the invoices sync, but also leads as well. So I'm going to show you a few examples. So what we're looking at here is Quoterite's automation platform. And this is where we build our automations that plug into all of our systems. So we can control what happens within our system through this, and also how our system interacts with any other system out there. This is a really simple example of a Xero automation that was custom built for a client, which automatically checks various customers' accounts in Xero for their credit limits, and then tells us whether they have credit limits okay or not for orders, especially if they're commercial clients. So again, these were all custom made and live. We've got this one here, which is converting, this is connected to HubSpot. And so this is converting a quote to HubSpot. So the way this client has it set up is they're using HubSpot. So what they do is they have all of their marketing connected to HubSpot, from their Google Analytics, their Facebook leads, their web forms, literally everything's connected. So now they have the ability to track and monitor all of their marketing for the company. When a lead or an inquiry comes through HubSpot, it automatically creates a deal in HubSpot, which is reviewed by the team. And then as soon as that team puts that into a lead, or somebody puts it to a lead, it automatically populates it here. They can also automatically assign it to a rep within HubSpot, which means that rep only sees their leads that populate here. But on top of that, it's a two-way sync. So it means that every action we do here, including moving it to different columns, it does the same thing in HubSpot through this integration. It also means that any quotes you create in Quoterite, any payments, all of that is automatically pushed up to HubSpot. So this one here is convert to quote. We've got a deal line here that says, in our system, if we get the deal line items, we create it, we set the variables, etc. And again, these are all custom built by us in-house for clients based on their exact requirements. We also connect with systems like Zoho. So this is synchronizing all the contacts from Zoho, Pipedrive, Slack. There's literally hundreds that we do connect with, and if they're not in our connection library, then we can custom build them. But it's all about understanding the time that's wasted in an organization and how we can make you more efficient. So if we've taken care of automations of communication, but now we know that your marketing, for every dollar you spend on marketing, you can track your return on investment, because you'll know if a lead was created, was that lead quoted, what was the quote value, did they purchase, what was the GP, what products did they purchase. This enables you to take all of that data and then really fine tune your marketing to know, did the certain campaigns work, did certain products work, did different areas or different types of clients do it. It also means that because the contact sync's there, we can tag customers on what they purchased, when they purchased. So it means that, let's say you lost a job and you put it in a lost column here, you might have an automatic campaign that just keeps emailing them once a month. Or maybe you want to email all of your contacts through your CRM, your external CRM. All of that's possible, including things like follow-up drip campaigns. And the reason that's really important, again, is you can create beautiful HTML style drip campaigns and timing, everything within there. Obviously, that's something our team can help with, and there's many platforms that we've used to do this, but it is incredibly effective. And this is where the real power of Quoterite comes in, is, again, not what you see, it's what's under the hood. That's why we call it a system to build a system, because it's, instead of being stuck in one platform that tries to do everything, and eventually you grow out of it, or it has all of these different rigidities about how it operates, and you end up building workarounds and adding different software, and then people are manually doing jobs. We fully integrate and fully automate everything. So organizations that use Quoterite with these types of automations far outperform any others, not just from increasing sales based on conversion, but also purely reducing costs. The other option we've got for sending quotes is we can send a smart quote. So smart quotes, instead of just emailing a PDF, we can also send a link. They can view the link in home, they can pay deposits, etc. So very, very easy system to use. Let's have a look at our job here. So this is the job that we put through. Let's have a look at our accepted job. So let's say we're at a point now that we are ready to order. What we're going to do is release those orders. Now, this does not automatically send those orders to suppliers or do anything. What it's going to do is just flag it that it's ordered, and we can see the status is open. So from here, if we look at our orders tab, we'll just refresh this. These are all the orders that have been sent through from your various suppliers. So these are the 2 orders that we've got here. Now, Quoterite does integrate with some suppliers. That's definitely something we can go through as to who they are. If we look at this Hunter Douglas here, we can see that we've got the order. This can be reviewed. We can add our shipping methods, address, we'll add a method here, etc. We can review the order and see what's on there. We can go next, add any references, order statuses, ETAs, etc., and then mark as submitted. Again, we can change all of that info here. We can see all of the different history once there is some for it. But you'll notice that changes to submitted. So really what's happening is, as orders are coming in, this is where they're coming for perhaps your order submission team to process those orders and check them. We can go through and filter by statuses, by suppliers, potentially by reps or ETA days, and we can click on columns to sort them too. But what's great is that we can lock this orders form perhaps from your sales reps. But anything that we do here, see how we've clicked that as submitted? Let's just go back and refresh this. So they can come in here and see that that is submitted. And once I do have a status and ETA, they'll be able to keep track of their orders too, but not actually have the ability to change it or order those products. So it keeps them in the loop really well. Other than that, within Quoterite, we have a very simple contact manual, contact section, where it's a simple CRM that links all the different deals that that customer may have. And this is where if you did integrate with something like HubSpot, Zoho, Pipedrive, obviously it's two-way sync of those details and you would see more information here. But just to be clear on those automations, Not every staff member needs it. Generally, we see that maybe one or two staff members use, for example, HubSpot. All of your operations and sales will stay in Quoterite. The only time you would have people in, for example, HubSpot is if they're running marketing campaigns or reporting. That's it. Because everything else is fully automated, send into Quoterite, and then this sends it back. So no more of your team need to go into those external systems. They can stay here. Obviously, we've got our personnel, calendar, and orders. But that's a really good overview of Quoterite, how it operates, the different pipelines, I think, and how it can really be customized to different organizations.